that make sense? Have you ever been around someone whose standards were so high for themselves, you raised your standards by comparison? How many of you have ever done that? Where you got around where it was better. And because it was better and you wanted a taste of it, you raised your standard just by association. So that's what we want to do with our team agreements. And then as we evolve as a team, we can begin to coach each other on our language patterns, on our state patterns, on our communication patterns, and on how we uphold the strategies and systems that you guys are going to be learning coming through this program and the ones to follow. Now that we have got at least some fundamental and philosophical benchmarks out of the way, philosophical alignment out of the way, at least a vision of where we're going. Now, remember when we talked about the areas of life mastery and we talked about time, and how time is really the continuum. It is what is equal for all of us. But how we invest our time looks different for all of us. True or false? And the truth of the matter is, there are only 3 things you can do with time. 3. What do you think those are? You can waste time. What are the things? Now, can we be honest? Can we be a little bit playful for a little bit? Would that be okay?
Mm-hmm.
Can we give each other permission to be honest here?
Yeah.
And call a spade and not withhold anything? So when you say, when you make that comment about, well, sometimes we waste time, what are the ways we waste time?
In day to day.
And let's keep it to the confines of the practice. How do you see, or how do you, if you want to acknowledge, how do you waste time day to day in the practice? How do you see time wasted, or how do you waste time?
Gosh, there's all kinds of ways.
Give me 2 examples.
Our home-
Waste time on Facebook, on your phone. Sneaking off into the labs. You can go through there and text your friend back, text your boyfriend, you know, do all this kind of stuff, see what your friends are doing on Facebook. Now, Facebook can be a very useful tool for the practice as a branding and marketing tool, right?
Yes.
But when you say spending time on your phone, you're not talking about using Facebook to help the practice, are you?
Oh, yes, you are.
Yeah. She's talking about getting on Facebook looking for what she can get offended about today. Or what you can get excited about, or what someone else is doing, right? What's another way we waste time day to day? Or maybe not you, but
Waste time. I don't know. Mine's my phone. I mean, I'm just almost, I will get on there. And
you used to get on there.
I like that.
Yeah, you used to before today.
I'm not going to promise. I'll try.
Just chit-chat, just sitting around, just talking about.
Chit-chatting, shooting the bull, shooting the breeze, gossiping a lot of times about other team members, about a patient, that kind of thing, right? So yeah, we can waste time. We can waste time. You know how else we can waste time? And this is one of those distinctions that goes very often overlooked. You know how else we can waste time? Walking to an operatory or to a lab, and maybe we're on our phone when we're doing it, and it takes us this long to get back to a room where the doctor needs us. Or maybe the doctor is the one who is lollygagging back to the operatory, right? So little things like that where moments can be eaten up. What about, did you know? This is interesting. I just read this fact. I thought this was incredible. Did you know that if you spend 10 minutes in the bathroom every single day, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the afternoon, 10 minutes over the day as a whole, did you know that those 10 minutes a day, you just earned yourself 40 hours of paid vacation? You just took it in small increments. Do what? Physical needs, yes. Physical needs. But the truth is, if you added up those 10 minutes a day, ultimately you just got paid 40 hours for going to the restroom. That's pretty cool. Turn to your doctors and say, thanks. Appreciate that. But what's interesting about that scenario is how often it's overlooked, because again, the body has needs. We need to evacuate our bladders. We need to, nourish ourselves. But most people spend their lives that way too. They use up their vacation in 10-minute increments of lost time on the schedule. You ever thought about that? Like when you look on the schedule, we're going to talk a little bit about time economics, but when you look on the schedule and you see a 10-minute gap here, or a 20-minute gap here, or another 10-minute gap here, do you know, if you looked out over your schedule and added up all of those gaps, you could probably identify a 2-week vacation that you could be taking that maybe you're not because you feel like you need to be in the practice producing. When if we would have utilized that time and organized that time and executed that time a little bit differently, we could have had our cake and eaten it too. How many of you know what I'm talking about here? Yeah. Little things. So we can waste time. We can spend time. So how do we spend time? We spend time on the phone confirming patients. We spend time taking phone calls to fill in openings on the schedule. We spend time, we spend time filing insurance, following up on claims. We spend time in direct patient contact and patient care. We spend time cleaning teeth, taking x-rays, doing the initial clinical interview. So we can waste time, we can spend time, and what is the third thing we can do with time? What do you think that is?
Invest.
We can invest it. We can invest time. And at Fortune, one of the ways that we coach our teams to invest time is through weekly team meetings. We invest time with training sessions such as this one, where even though, yes, you're taking 2 days out of practice or 10 days over the course of a year, it is time investment that returns back to you tenfold. So it's an investment. So we can spend time, waste time, or invest time, but let's understand time. Let's understand how time works in your practice. And at Fortune, we talk a lot about time economics. And time economics is really how we are investing and spending time toward the fruition of our goals or the fulfillment of our goals and our vision. That's what time economics really is. It's, do you understand the value of a minute? Do you understand the value of 10 minutes? Do you understand how that 10-minute break between one patient to another can be reinvested toward the vision and the goals and the future of the practice? One thing, my mentor in this business was Dr. Paul Bass. He was a practicing dentist for 21 years. I cannot express how deeply I love that man. He taught me so much. He was an incredible coach to me over the past 17 and a half, 18 years. And I learned something from him about time economics. Like, I learned from him specifically, like, there are ways he organizes his time so he doesn't have work flowing over to the next day. How many of you have ever dreaded going into the office because you had a stack of stuff you didn't complete the day before waiting on you? How many of you have ever had that happen? Or at home, we let the laundry pile up or the dishes pile up or whatever, and they're going to be waiting for us when we get home, right? Well, one of the things I learned from Paul was the ability to condense time. To condense time, and Tony calls it net time. Net time means no extra time. It means you dedicate a certain allotment of hours and moments every single day. Part of them you invest in your goals and in your future. Part of them you spend doing what you love. But you make a conscious choice never to waste time. If you want to rest, if you want to watch a movie, if you need a break, do it. But know what you're doing it for. Know what you're doing it for. Don't just let yourself be sitting on the couch, eating Cheetos, watching whatever for 16 hours on a Saturday because you had the day off. That day could be spent doing something you love, not taking a break. How many of you follow this way of thinking really good? Is it making sense so far? So, Paul knew exactly how long it took him to, let's say, drive from our office to the post office or to Taco Bell, down to the minute. He knew how long it took him. And he knew that during that 7 minutes where you're driving, you can be driving and doing something else at the same time. You can return a couple of phone calls. True? We don't text and drive.
No.
We have that as a standing agreement on my team. We never text and drive. So if you ever text me and I don't get back to you right away, I'm probably driving. And that is just an agreement that we have. But he knows he can return a couple of phone calls in that 7-minute window. What do most people do?
Listen to music.
I'm sorry?
Listen to music.
They listen to music, or they're trying to scan Facebook and drive at the same time. Anybody been guilty of that? Well, no, you don't, right? But how many of you know somebody who does? Yeah, there we go. Okay. So he knows how long it takes him to eat. And I learned something from him, like when I first started to want to get into this business, I used to, at the end of the day, after I did all of my administrative work, because for a while I was a franchise operator, a director, an office manager, that kind of thing, and then I moved into coaching once I felt like I had the competence to do it. So I can remember at the end of my day, I come in at 7, my day ended at 5, and I have a lunch break, right? I have that hour lunch break in the middle of the day that I would go and I'd listen to some music, or I'd sit down with the girls upstairs and we'd eat, and then maybe, go knock out a couple of errands and then come back. And then at the end of the day, I would leave work and I'd go home and I'd go through my home to-do list, or sit on the couch, or sit on the back porch, or do whatever. And what I learned was, and I think Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn talk about this as well, that during the hours of 8 to 5, you're earning a living. During prime time, the hours of 5 to 10, you work on your dreams. You work on your goals. And so one of the things I took from Paul was, once I figured out, I don't need an hour to eat. Have you ever tried to eat for an hour? Like a whole hour? Even at one of those all-you-can-eat buffets. How many of you have ever been successful at eating? I'm talking about not taking a breath, just eating for an entire hour. You don't. You don't. So I learned from him, well, actually, it takes me about 8 minutes to eat a meal. If I'm not waiting on prep time and I'm not waiting on the waitress to bring it, it actually takes about 8 minutes. So I had 52 minutes in the middle of the day to reinvest, to invest in my dreams, invest in where I was going. And at the end of the day, even if I wanted to be in bed by 9 o'clock, if my day ended at 5, I used to sit at the top of the stairs in our office back then, and I would just listen to Paul on his coaching calls. I would just listen to him. What is he saying? What are they saying? How does he know that? And every time I would hear something on one of those coaching calls, I was like, how does he know that? So then I think it was you who said, I want to know the reason behind it, right? So I'd hear him say something. I'm like, how does he know that? So I'd go, and back then the internet was really new, so we didn't have access to everything we do now. So I would go find videos and books and audio books to learn more about how did he know that? What is behind that? And so during those 52 minutes after I ate, and during those hours between 5 and 8 or 9 o'clock at night, I invested in where I was going. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to be stuck earning $22,000 a year the rest of my life. I mean, it was great, I just didn't want to stay there. And then when you hit 30,000, it's like, well, I don't want to stay here either.